Hey,
We're back.
we are back.
Back in the saddle with the new and improved setup here with the mic that I no longer have to rest on my belly. It's really quite nice, and I'm just saying this to adjust it. Ooh, that sounds better. That's where you want. That's the sweet spot. How you doing, Al?
I'm doing all right, man. We had a nice morning. It's been raining here until today.
It has, yes.
And now we went out, had a nice round of golf.
Yeah, full disclosure, we came straight off the golf course. Well, A, to maximize time for this episode. B, because we're doing a very special episode about a dear friend of ours who has sadly passed. It's been over a year now, actually, since his passing. And we've been meaning to get around to this and just have been putting it off and kept saying we're going to do it. But finally, we were like, you know what?
David
Better
Loughery
late than
episode.
never. Exactly. David Loughery. David P. Loughery, as we started to call him. He was a screenwriter, producer, a bon vivant, a real wit. Just like a
film nerd, like us.
Oh my God, film buff, film nerd. Always had
books.
Turner Classic Movies on. Had a different movie to tell you about every time you saw him. Something unique and obscure, either a weird noir that you'd never heard of, or some pre-Code, pre-Hays Code comedy, screwball comedy. He was just like a lover of film, a lover of culture. And he was practically like family when I was growing up because he was really close with my parents and was around a lot, and just, yeah, a testament to one of these people that is, he's not in front of the camera. He's not a name that's like
He could have been.
etched in lights or whatever. Yeah, but David had a very steady, successful, stable career in Hollywood, working across many different decades and genres. And so I just think his career is something to celebrate. His personhood is something to celebrate. Just who he was. I mean, yeah, we're kind of doing this in honor of David.
Yeah, we've been wanting to do this for a while, but it's hard to. I mean, part of it was just it's emotional, but also if anybody's curious just about David's career beyond what we're going to talk about, and him as a person, he was on my other podcast, The Crew List.
That's true.
And that's still available. So if you're curious, you can hear David in person, in the flesh.
Yeah, we'll link out to the Crew List episode that David recorded with Al from a couple years back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I realized to make the connection here because it made sense in my head, but to anyone that's watching this, you won't know fuck all about this. So the reason we came straight from the golf course is that David was a big lover of golf. Famously quite an avid golfer himself. And so, we felt it was only appropriate that we go straight from the fairway
which used to be our thing.
Exactly. Straight from the fairway to the podcast studio. This is my typical golf outfit now that it's gotten colder. These glasses are the Oakley Flak 2.0, which you might have seen during the World Series. They were worn by a lot of baseball players. They're just like really practical for athletics. So I wear them when I golf. Also, go Dodgers. They won. It's a couple weeks old now.
We were going to do a Dodger episode, but we're still surfing that.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, exactly. But
that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool.
And your brother and my son got married on the day of Game 7.
That was a pretty epic way to watch it.
Yeah.
There's some amazing photos in my phone of people just kind of huddled around different screens. We were watching the game like live.
I would love to have heard
yeah.
the jibes that David would have come up with.
He was a big teaser. I guess how do we start this David episode?
So the way we all met, because our careers all kind of started around the same time. Tammy and I had just gotten married, and we had a 1 week anniversary party, and David was invited. And we had never met him before, and he showed up. He's denying this right now. He showed up with his own little cooler of beer, and we were house sitting at a house that had a pool. His own cooler with beer and little snacks, and sat off by himself. And swears he never did that, but you did.
So that was your first.
That's when we met him, and then we all started hanging out. And
yeah.
David was, he was a fledgling screenwriter, and I was still an assistant editor. And we all kind of came up at the same time, and we got to be with David to celebrate his early successes and watch his career blossom. And when Danny was born, we all thought, well, of all the people, because David was sort of the perennial bachelor until he finally found his perfect match in Mel.
Yes.
But anyways, we thought we'd never see him again. after you were born. Like, he's not going to want to come up and hang out with us. And of all the people we were friends with, he was probably there the most.
Yeah, I always thought
loved you guys.
That was funny when you. I mean, obviously, when I was young, I had no knowledge of like David beyond just being another adult in the room. But like as we got older and you explained that to us, I always thought that was funny because as I got to know him too, I'm like, he would not strike me as the type of person that if you were like in your late 20s, early 30s, yeah, because he maintained that kind of bachelor lifestyle for a while, I would say.
He did,
I mean, and this is all in love of David and who he was, and the memories we're bringing up are just to paint a full portrait. And he did eventually find his partner, and him and Mel are like perfectly matched. They're soulmates.
They
but
really
it is
were.
a testament to David being kind of, I think, just even as I was coming of age and in my teens, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of funny. He's still just like a single dude, and would tell me about like, yeah, he's just like going to parties and playing the field, sort of as a screenwriter, which is funny to me.
I know, and
David,
he was very humble, but
he was
David did
commitment
some pretty
phobic.
He worked on some pretty big projects. He wrote one of the big Star Trek features, The Three Musketeers at Disney. I mean, we were just refreshing our memory about his filmography, and he's got some stuff in there too that are still new to me, but I have personal favorites, obviously, of his.
Yeah, I know. I went back last year after he passed away and watched the Three Musketeers movie that he did.
Yeah, so did we.
Which was
that's his voice.
Yeah, it's funny because it's very, David, of the many things that he loved. I think if you were doing like a David sort of mood board starter kit, like you would have to include a couple things in there. You would have the Turner Classic Movie Channel. You'd have
Errol Flynn,
microwavable pizza, Diet Coke, Errol Flynn. Am I missing something? He liked Diet Coke.
He did.
Yeah, he was a big DC boy. I remember. He always took me to really random restaurants too. Actually,
he loved L.A. and Hollywood, L.A.
I did not appreciate sometimes until I got older how, in deep cut some of the places we were going to, like even in mini malls, like a really good like noodle place, or because he lived kind of adjacent to K-Town. He was in Hancock Park and loved Old Hollywood and
Smokehouse.
Yeah, HMS Bounty. He was a big fan of. Loved his martinis. So what would you put on that? Sorry, it would be like a Martini, Diet Coke, Turner Classic Movie Channel,
Errol Flynn
movies.
Any movie.
But he did have a real love for like 1930s, 1940s.
Sort of classic Hollywood. We all bonded over noirs.
Yes. Yeah, and he and I actually for a couple of years when I was going to UCLA, I would see him pretty regularly because
like a standing dinner date with.
Yeah. And every year they did noir, like newly restored noir festival every year at the Egyptian.
I think they're still doing that.
Before it was renovated. Yeah. I think they still do.
Yeah, they do, I think.
But I went a couple times with David and Mel, and it was always fun because we would go to, not Michelli's. There's an Italian place off Hollywood that's like right by the Egyptian. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do, but I can't think of it right now.
I can look it up. This is unfortunate because these places to me personify David too. It's like a lot of like.
Oh, he loved dive.
Yeah.
Well, like when
Musso and
your mom
Franks
and I were first hanging out with him too. He would always find the coolest dive bars.
Yeah.
Like that, the Cozy Inn, which I think that's the one in Culver City.
Is he a fan of? Did you guys ever go to Shay J?
We went to Shay J. I don't think I ever went there with him, no. But Shay J's cool. But he loved that. But any place with a good jukebox, cheap beers,
and like history.
Darts.
I remember him taking me to Santa Monica Municipal Airport, and that was like so cool because I didn't realize you can just go and like. I mean, people do the sort of spectator thing by LAX where you can like watch planes land because there's like
a restaurant there though.
But they've since renovated it. I think when he took me, he was like researching a script about aviation or something, so there was like a homework reason for him to be there, but it was kind of cool because he would just kind of take you on field trips like that. Or I remember hanging out with him as a kid, and like as a kid, I mean it was in college, those weekends that I had in LA. College. Yeah. And he had a real obsession too with visiting old locations. Like took me to the apartment from Long Goodbye. That's like right up in Hollywood Dell by the Hollywood Bowl. He was he
never was grew out of being a fan.
Yeah,
and I feel
it's contagious.
We were all kin. With that in mind, and we were because we all loved all that.
Yeah. So. What are some like? I guess because I could obviously go on
Well, I wanted to
about this.
I wanted to just touch on
days.
something right now, though. Before that, one of the things that's special about being able to do this is that David, not only when you guys were kids, wanted to be a big part of your lives and loved all the stages you guys went through, but he maintained a relationship with you professionally, really, because you guys started reading each other's material, and he was a mentor to you, but also really valued your opinion.
Yeah.
You know, Danny and David would share scripts with each other and give real notes, like, you know, the kind that are, you know, are coming from a good place, but honest ones.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, that was also part of last year in mourning his death and kind of going through the whole process of losing anybody that close to you, because he was family, you know, like obviously
he was.
You knew him for a good chunk of your life. I knew him my entire life, and it's like, yeah, it's just it's such a whole.
I knew him for a big chunk of my.
Yeah,
we met him when we were like in our early.
You guys
20s.
were both. I mean, and that's, I guess, what I wanted to get to next is like, I know you have some great stories about his salad days before he sort of broke in as like a major Hollywood screenwriter, but you have some really good stories that I'll let you get to.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we may have known David right around the time he wrote that Heart to Heart script, but that was kind of his first, I believe, his first professional credit.
Okay, what was Heart to Heart?
Heart to Heart was a series that ran for several years with Robert Wagner and Stephanie Powers. It was like a detective. It was sort of a modern version of The Thin Man.
Oh, okay.
Which in retrospect is perfect for David, but it was pretty.
And if you don't know The Thin Man, William Powell, Myrna Loy,
and Asta.
Yeah, Asta the dog. It was a very popular film series from the 1940s.
So, like, I don't think they realized what they had with David, because he would have been a wealth of ideas for that show. But anyways, that got him broken in. But when we all met, we were still struggling. You know, I was between jobs. I was working at UCLA when I couldn't get a assistant editing job, and David was scrambling, trying to make enough money to pay his rent. And I remember the night he sold Dreamscape and got his first sort of big check. And a whole bunch of us went out to dinner, but he was kind of embarrassed to bring it up in front of everybody else, and he pulled me off to the side, and he just wanted to tell somebody how much his first deal was for. And I don't even remember the number now, but it's irrelevant. But it was so flattering, but it was also like he didn't want to say anything out loud, but he just needed to tell somebody, and I was flattered it was me.
That's really sweet.
Because I think, too, it's like not to assume how anybody else would have reacted, but he kind of knew he could tell me, and I would be like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Instead of,
he trusted
my piece of the pie.
He trusted your friendship enough to be like, this is not, there's no bitterness.
And he was the same way with me. There's
no competition.
Career moved up the ladder. He was super supportive.
Oh, yeah. He'd always make those jokes, though. I mean, the thing about David is that he was just so good at being able to ride the line between, I mean, because it is the sense of humor that like makes him so unique, in that he's able to be self-deprecating, but also lift you up in ways like he, just as quickly as he could kind of cut you down with a quip or a comment, because he was very sardonic and kind of critical and dry humor. Yeah. You know, he'd deliver these statements where you just say the funniest things, and then would follow that up with like something actually very heartfelt and poignant, because he was this really interesting combination of somebody.
He also was his best audience. I mean, he could barely get out something funny without laughing himself.
That was like, I remember last year, because we ended up having kind of an impromptu little like wake after his official wake with Mel and her family, which was lovely. And we went to the Tam O'Shanter, which is another classic spot that David loved. And, but we were all like drinking wine after and going like, the thing about David is that, anybody that knew him, like he would start to tell a joke and like laugh before he finished it. He would just kind of be like,
it was always going to be funny,
which is something I think I've honestly picked up from him. Like I know I do that in my own life, and it's become so second nature that it's not, but it probably was learned behavior of growing up around him.
Well, and I think I do the same thing. We all have a tendency to, we can entertain ourselves.
Yes.
And David spent time, when he'd be working or whatever, he'd be by himself. And I'm the same way. And I do things to just purely to make myself laugh, even if I'm all by myself. So when David would do stuff like that, I could just picture when he thought of this stuff.
Oh yeah. I know.
Just reminding himself how funny he is.
Yeah. Very funny. Also not at all technically adept. I remember one of my David stories that I told probably last year when we were all kind of, sharing stories and reminiscing. and this is definitely one that's made the rounds in my family before, but it was like 2017 or 2018, and it was when I was still living in New York, but you guys were out here, and so I would come back for the holidays and, you know, spend some time here, a couple weeks, see friends, pretty much always see David. He was always on the list of like, if I had 2 weeks back here, I would go out to dinner with him and Mel or do something, go see a movie, drive around. And this trip, it just so happened that, we were hanging out, but he needed to get a new MacBook because his old laptop had crashed. And he had given me a heads up, of course, because David was a very conscientious person. He'd never like spring anything on you, but he was like, "Hey, Dan, I'm going to need you to kind of come with me." And I'm the old guy who doesn't know how to use his tech, so I need the young gun to kind of come and tell me what to get at the Apple Store. And I was like, "Yeah, happy to do it." So we like met at the Grove.
Bear in mind, this is somebody who'd been writing on a computer since the 80s.
Yes, I should set up that, he's no slouch. Yeah, exactly. Like he's definitely, he's a successful Hollywood screenwriter who's written such films as Money Train with Wesley Snipes, Dreamscape, the aforementioned 1984 classic with Dennis Quaid, The Three Musketeers, a massive. So anyway,
Tom and Huck,
a great one with JTT, Jonathan Taylor Thomas. He was really hitting his stride in the 90s there. I feel like that was when like the getting was good. But David also, we can get to that, but he had a very long and
he worked right
multi-phase career. But that's all to say that he was he was working, he was writing. He'd obviously submitted pages before and finished screenplays, right? So I was like, all right, we go to the Grove, we go to the Apple Store, and I think at this point we maybe had dinner plans or something. I don't know. It was like we were going to get through this and our reward would be to like hang and finally get back. But we get back and open up this computer, and I was doing the thing because I think it was still like the time machine thing where you can like connect a drive and like the iCloud backup had not existed yet or whatever, where now it's like so turnkey that you basically have to.
Looks like
anybody can do it. Even David.
I don't know.
David, I hope you're enjoying this. But so long story short, we get back to we do the whole setup thing. We get his old stuff transferred over to the new computer. I get him logged in. I'm like, good, let's go eat. I'm like starved. And he's like, wait, hold on a second. Just need to know. And he's like typing in a test document. Like he opened up like Word doc and he's just kind of like, so when I save this, where does it go? And I went, like thinking this was just another dry humor David Loughery quip. I'm like, well, the desktop. And he's like, no, I can't find it. How do I save the file? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, how have you gone through 50 plus years of life at this point and not figured out where your file's saved?
David, where's that rewrite?
Yeah. No. I just thought it was so funny, and I didn't, have the balls maybe at the time to roast him. I should have given him shit, honestly, because he would have laughed. He was always quick to laugh at himself.
Yes.
But I say that all in the context of like David being a really lovely person and feeling like I had this really special relationship with him, which was somewhere between grandson and big brother. Like it was like weird.
Uncle. Yeah.
Yeah, but like there were times when I would do things that felt as if I was taking care of an elderly outpatient care thing. And then
in that respect,
wiping his ass, cleaning up.
Not quite.
No. He would laugh at that. But and then there were times where like we would just chop it up and talk about a sci-fi movie or J.G. Ballard, this like great author, and like I felt like I was talking to a peer because
he treated you like that.
Yeah, even when we were kids, you guys were surprised that he would come over and just kind of sit at our level and like,
David would come over.
He didn't baby talk,
and Tam and I couldn't wait to see him, and then he would just go over to the boys and Claire and go, what do you guys doing these days? And he'd want to look at all their shit. And
I remember one time, this is actually we hit up our family chat before starting this pod just to get any anecdotes from people, because we told everyone we're going to be talking about David. So if you have anything you want to share, and
Tam said
my mom reminded us that on the note of him kind of just treating us always as adults, it was probably, I don't know what, it would have been like 7 or 8, and Colin was probably 5.
Yeah,
and we had made a fake comic book called Poop Pekala that was just
he was the hero.
Oh yeah. Because at that age, it's just like poop and fart are the only things. That's your comedy. That's your humor.
Hilarious.
Poop, fart, piss. You could say butt, fart, and that would pretty much, have you in stitches. So I mean, it's still funny, honestly. Poop always works.
Well,
but
David
laughed.
Yeah.
David thought it was hilarious.
And by then, we'd heard that poop heckle so many times that we were ready to take that comic book and burn it.
Yeah.
And David starts laughing, and Tammy looks at him and goes, "What? Don't encourage that. Why are you laughing?" He goes, "It's funny."
He encouraged us. Yeah, I think he really did have like a childlike sense of wonder and a very sophomoric sense of humor, which was funny because it would
pop up in some of his screenplays, though.
It would, yeah,
in the weirdest places. And I swear there were things that we were giggling at, like watching the Three Musketeers, that I could hear him saying.
Oh, 100%.
That's his voice in that movie.
Oh yeah,
a ton.
That was a good one to revisit last year because
there's a lot of quips.
Yeah, there's so much Davidisms all over it, and it feels like, even as I'm sure any studio picture goes and something produced by Disney of that era, it's like, I know it probably went through a lot of retooling and whatever, but
survived the most.
It did seem to make it through the fire pretty unscathed in terms of it being David's draft and a lot of him in there.
And that's one I remember reading before I ever saw it. He was still working on it. He was great about sending scripts out. I read a whole bunch of his stuff.
He really did share. I mean, back to the point you made, like from 2010 to the end of David's life. So a solid 12, 13 years, I was emailing him and corresponding pretty regularly on an almost like monthly basis about, scripts he was working on, or just sometimes he would fire off an email. He was a big proponent of emails kind of being like letters. Yeah, a little bit. Like, subject line, been thinking about this. And like, he'll just sort of, and there was like a lot of craft in it. So it felt like when I got an email from David, I would have to kind of respond in kind, because I can't just dash something off. There would be, you could tell he kind of worked on the prose. There's always, he was really a gifted writer and a very deep person. He had actually really deep well of perspective and knowledge. And it's really crazy to think that, you can lose someone like that. But also, this is important because so much of like what we're talking about is just still with us. Like, David has left his indelible imprint on me and you, and I know still, I have his voice so clearly embedded in my head when I write creatively that like anytime I'm working on something, because I would share a lot with him, and he was always
he was great with
he'd push me though. He'd be like, "Don't do this like artsy fartsy shit. You gotta like, if you want to go there, you can, but you gotta have a genre to couch it in." Or he was a big proponent of like the formal structure and steps that are taken to kind of like, there is a blueprint for like what makes a movie work, and he was always encouraging me to try to at least color within the lines before I start throwing out the coloring book. And I think, when I was early 20s, I wasn't
rules before you can break them.
Exactly. But it's one of these lessons where it's like I had to learn it for myself, and now that I'm looking back, it's almost unfortunate because I feel, in a selfish way, I'm like, I would love to share things with David now.
I know.
You just don't have him to turn to.
Pick up a phone and call him.
I know. Yeah.
Things,
We saw him. That's the thing, is like, it was so, life gets busy, and we moved to the East Coast, and, you and Mom had bounced around. And so it's like when we were back here in LA, I was looking forward to, we got David nearby. We got a lunch at Ernie's, and we ended up watching a movie with him over at his place, which was fun.
Yeah, we did that. Well, we did one here too. That was going to become a regular thing. And then, David had some family in Florida and was back there off and on. And when he went back this last time, that's when he took a downturn with his health and wasn't able to come back here. But when, the time we did have with him, we remember so fondly, all of us, and he has made an impact. Tam and I talk about him all the time.
Yeah.
It's like something funny will happen.
Or
we see a movie that we love. It's like, we wonder what, it's like you want to call him.
Yeah.
And
I know.
would always do that. And
I think about him pretty much every day, probably. Yeah. Especially being back here. I think he was always so like tied to LA to me and filmmaking and my own aspirations and dreams of wanting to work in the industry.
I think he would have been Cowboy. Seriously.
Oh,
it's like,
100%.
I was so flattered he wanted to do the other podcast with me, but that one is just a little more straight ahead. What's your story? How'd you get started?
Yeah.
So if you're interested in those kind of things about him too, he tells a lot of his own story.
Yeah.
But he would have been all over this because this could be whatever, this is what we would do. We'd have lunch with him.
Yeah,
There would just be one more chair here.
Exactly.
But it's pretty much what we've done since we started Timecode Cowboys.
It's true. I think a lot of this pod is definitely just, kind of a continuation of the David energy. This, in terms of subject matter, is one that's really important to us. But I think if I were to kind of walk it out one layer further and appeal to somebody who's listening to this, who, again, either doesn't know David or doesn't care for this layer of Hollywood history, I would say that it's a really good testament to
they
just
probably
like,
aren't listening.
Yeah, maybe you've already turned it off, but if so, whatever. If you're still tuning in, great. He is like one of these great examples, though, too, of like a consummate professional who, I think I kind of touched on it earlier, definitely successful, but definitely part of sort of the anonymous hundreds of people that work in Hollywood for their entire lives and don't necessarily get an Academy Award or, you know what I mean? Like it's an extreme way of saying it, but it's like, this is a business that has a lot of layers and a lot of different.
Hey, I can relate to that.
phases.
I mean,
So
I would
it's like,
consider my career as a journeyman, I guess, if you had to label it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of really talented people who are those things.
well, yeah. And he, again, it's a testament to, anybody that has even been around this business for a short amount of time realizes that, like, especially with writers, your credits can be really spotty because you might work and develop something for years and then it just gets stuck in development hell. And that happened plenty of times to David where he would be.
But he always had something else going.
Yeah. But it's also a testament to, like, he's always got, he always had irons in the fire. And, like, I think there's way too much of a premium put on, like, this concept of, like, I don't know,
an auteur filmmaker.
Yeah, and I feel like David was just a real big proponent of, like, I have things that interest me. This is what I like to do. And he was able to put his fingerprint on in a way that felt very there was no vanity. You know what I mean? Like, he was just
serviced
like,
whatever the project was. I also think David, and I think I would put you in this box too, were some of the people that would have loved to have worked during the studio system.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Yeah.
The whole idea of, like, having a job and, like, okay, you're going to direct this week.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, you're doing this thing.
Yeah. We need David. We need you to write a whatever. I mean, he loved all the genres.
He did. Yeah, he really did. Yeah. Well,
and even his Star Trek movie had a Western element in the opening sequence.
I know. We got to watch Star Trek 5 again. Star Trek for David. Star Trek coasters for David.
Yep.
Just, giving a little love there. He was a giant Star Trek fan, and the chance he got to write Star Trek 5, the film, because for those of you who don't know, they did release how many feature films?
I forget how many with the
original cast.
Yeah.
And at that point, how long had the show been off the air?
It was over 10 years.
Was it also
or 9 years, maybe?
Star Wars coming out and
Star Wars had come out. And I think,
yeah.
So they went back to the original.
Yeah.
And I remember reading articles about that movie, and David telling me too that they were barely, the first one, we talked about this. He didn't write that one, but they barely got that into the theaters in time. They were still waiting on special effects until they had one of those, it's going to open on this date. They just made it. It's also why the original movie's too long. They never
Robert Wise.
Yes.
Does that?
Now I got to find out. It's somebody like that though.
Yeah.
I know Donner
just a real stable
Superman. I might be conflating them.
Yeah. But yeah, I always found it funny that, like, obviously that show in its early days was not considered like a breakout success. It goes off the air, finds a beloved, dedicated
79.
Okay, so 2 years after Star Wars, because 77 was when Star Wars came out, right?
Yes.
Okay. Which makes sense, because it's like the audience had built up in syndication. They want to get a movie out there with the original cast.
And David was right in the middle, and it was directed by Shatner.
Oh, wow. He directed
one
of them.
So many great stories.
Oh, my God. He must have had insane Shatner stories. I remember David was also a big proponent, and I have a whole folder saved, thank God, of just emails from him, and sort of, I deliberately tried to keep all these things when they were time-stamped of, us corresponding in college, or him sending us jokes or a video. He would send us, like, a video of Vincent Price selling, from some commercial.
Or all
in the
the
50s.
Elvis names from the
Yeah,
names of
that
all of
was
his characters.
that was one of the best. He sent us a document of all the names that Elvis. I gotta find that. You have to read it. That's
funny.
good. That was really good.
Yeah.
Just a name of all of the character names that Elvis played in his movies.
And a lot of them are kind of
Bud,
the same.
Skip,
Yeah.
Tim. Like, it's like the most
Buster.
like
Yeah,
Buster. Hold on, we gotta find that because it's so good.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
What do you
I don't
spend
think there
his
was a
time writing?
movie I saw, like especially if I discovered an old chestnut or something that David hadn't seen and didn't have a story.
Oh yeah, well him and his
And you follow in his footsteps because your encyclopedic knowledge. I thought I knew a lot.
well, it was fun going toe to toe with him. He obviously knew more than me, but at a certain point
and his friend Fred.
Yep, his dear friend Fred Rappaport, who's
Another
amazing.
writer and a really
Definitely get
sweet
him on the
guy.
pod.
I know.
Fred, we're
love to
talking
get
to
you on
you,
there,
man.
yeah.
Yeah. Fred also is.
He's an encyclopedia.
Yeah, and is like super generous too with being like, oh, I have a copy of that movie if you want to borrow it, or like he's like a lending library for art.
I think they watch like a movie every night.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I try to. I mean, I don't always succeed, but yeah, I don't know. David is like just a one of a kind human being, and he would come up to Valencia where you guys had relocated with me.
Oh, I didn't know where you're going.
And I remember even as we were getting older, he would still drive up on the weekends, but take surface streets the entire
He had
way
a
from
weird-
like Santa Monica.
Yeah. And
Surface streets.
Yeah,
all
he had
the
a
way.
thing about driving on the freeway, and I
he
think
was a
it
little
might have been Mel
scared
that
of
finally
it.
broke
Yeah.
him of it.
I know. I get it. The freeway can be intimidating, but he was funny that
God,
way.
we gave him some. Well, here's a good story.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not,
I think I know what you're
it's
gonna
not
say.
business
Yeah.
related, but
Yeah.
David, he was starting to become successful, and he had bought like a cool BMW. He's a swinging singles screenwriter. He had a little house in Westwood and a BMW. And I remember our other close friend, Jerry Gibbs, we all hung out together, Jerry and Colleen and David. He had a different car. We were going, well, what happened to your other car? And he goes, well, this red light came on and said the engine. So he just parked it in his garage and bought another car.
Just didn't even want to take it to the shop.
Well, you can get it fixed.
Yeah. I mean, I identify with some of that, though, honestly.
It goes back to the computer thing, though. It's like, I just hear parking.
Yeah, he's like, my mind doesn't really go there. I can kind of do this and with that stuff. But I admire his
I love that he
audacity.
didn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he would take it if we'd give him a hard
he
time.
would laugh.
I don't care.
He also loved brushing his teeth. Didn't you catch him once brushing his teeth at
On
the golf course?
course.
Yeah. See, these little quirks to me are great, though, because they're so David to me.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
If you blindfolded me and said one of your friends is brushing
Yeah.
their teeth on the, I would know who it is.
Yeah, yep.
Even
That's
before
David.
he did it.
Yeah. David was one of these people who, even in a good year, you weren't seeing him that much. You really had to kind of, you had to follow up with
staying
him.
at home and then working in his office.
He did, which I totally
I'm the
get.
same
He was
way
a home
too. I'm
body.
kind of like that too.
Yeah, and like
I can get lost
I get
out
it.
here.
I get it. Yeah, I mean, it was just funny though because he would.
Once you got him out the door, he was fine.
He was.
So I remember, like since we moved back, and when he was still here before he had gotten ill, and after they moved or went to Florida, I kept trying to get him out to golf, and he wanted to play, but it was like, well, my clubs are way in the back of the garage, and it's like, those are all. We can fix all those problems.
Yes, I know, but he would often give those things as like, it's a bit too much of a production, which I think is great and funny. He was notorious though for keeping lunch dates quite punctual and like, even that last time we saw him at Ernie's, it was like
1 hour,
1 hour, max.
55 minutes.
Gotta go.
He'd get there early, and then it would be 1 hour.
Yeah, he'd get there early.
Well, I'm that way too, so it was
Yeah.
hilarious because one of us would be there 10 minutes early every time, or he'd pull up and I was in the parking lot, or vice versa.
Yeah,
because we're both the same way.
Yeah,
part of that comes from I think anybody who's had to go to the set.
Yeah, sure. He didn't really like going to set.
He hated being on the set, but he did have to go.
He was a bit like Charlie Kaufman in Adaptation in the beginning.
He always had funny stories because he would sit quietly and see things happen.
And people had no idea who he was.
Or that he was paying any attention to what they were doing.
He's so funny.
Yeah. David was a great observer, which is why he was such a wonderful writer.
He had a really funny story about, he probably said this several times, and it might still be on the commentary, but when he recorded, in the DVD era, which we talked about on the show before, of like re-releasing a lot of these classic films on DVD for the first time with commentary and special features. Like Dreamscape came out in the early 2000s on DVD, and I remember he went down to wherever to record the commentary, probably somewhere on the West Side, and the second unit director or someone else, it was like a stacked commentary. It was like David, the director,
like 5 people,
maybe the first AD. But I think it was the first AD who they're like watching a scene because Capshaw's in that, I think, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Pre-Spielberg, pre-Temple of Doom. And there's like some sex scene in it, like very like blink and you'll miss it. And AD goes, "Yeah, I remember she had great tits." Just says it like that loud on the commentary, and David was trying not to crack up. And he's like, "Are we going to run it back and record over that? Because that's insane.
I have a feeling they didn't put that in.
I think it was, it must have just gone on the, but David was, in true David fashion, probably.
Oh, God. He probably couldn't wait to tell all of us that story.
Oh, my God. He's so funny. But yeah, he was just like really casually successful too, which I like about him,
Yeah.
Because all these things that we pointed to as isms are also kind of the great attributes of David. I think he's sort of like a kid that made it in a way and is like, he always kept that sense of wonder.
Well, and some of the stuff I discovered just by talking about something else, and then he would go, "Oh yeah, I was part of that." Like the Iowa Writers Workshop, which is a graduate program that's very difficult to get into.
Yeah, famously difficult to get into.
It's like, okay,
he went to
talk about a lot of that stuff. But
he was writing like one-act plays, and I know. But the good thing about David too is that he has this like pedigree that could have gone very kind of like intellectual, highbrow, like I'm writing films that are making statements and like art with a capital A, but he had those inclinations and that understanding and that intelligence, but he wanted to make things that he would want to watch. And I think like him going to quote unquote genre work, which is a weird word to say because that puts it in some sort of box as if it's like less than, which it isn't at all.
Not at all.
And it's actually arguably harder to write because you're dealing with these blueprints and schematics of like, I know I got to hit this beat. And David excelled at that. And I think he did really, really good work in that category. And I'm saying this out loud as like an epiphany myself because I think that's over the years I could go back to so many emails he sent me where he was kind of trying to impress that upon me. Not in a like schoolmaster way, but much more like, let me nudge you this direction. Maybe if you did this in this setting, or what if you thought about, he never taught necessarily, right? I think he would have been a wonderful teacher. Yeah. And I feel like I count him amongst you and a few other, select people in my life as like really good mentors and teachers.
Yeah. He did teach.
That was like,
I think he loved that. And also it's always fun when you bond with somebody that has the enthusiasm for what you do that's younger. And vice versa. It's like to make that connection. It's even like today, I was sitting with Bill, having people that have worked in this industry, for their whole lives. But everybody has a different story to tell. Yeah. And it's also why you're so well aware of, there are a lot of people that make a film.
Oh yeah.
And all those elements are really important.
They are.
And the more you get to know people who work in the industry, the more you realize that it's truly a collaborative effort.
Oh, yeah. Immensely.
I
think
understood that.
David was really, really content with his section of that assembly line because, if you look at what
he probably could have had the opportunity to direct at some point.
Wouldn't
want to. I don't think he wanted to.
No. He was happy to break a story, craft an idea, and then hand it over. And I think that is a skill in and of itself to be able to live in that
world.
And
I teased him about this because most of my career, once I really got rolling, was in episodic television. And he had opportunities. People were asking him if he had ideas for a TV series. And I kept going, David, please.
Just make a TV
show. Do it,
show.
and we can all be on it, and then we can retire.
Yeah.
Well, because he didn't want to work that hard. Because I don't want to,
There's a great Harry Dean Stanton quote, I think, from an interview after Christine came out, because, he plays the detective in that.
Gosh,
Harry
that's
Dean.
Right.
And to that date, I think he'd probably only ever really cropped up as, like, character parts, because he was an alien and definitely had success, but, like, was still just the character actor. And I think it was around that time he was doing press for it, and someone asked him, I can corroborate this later, but I know this is true because I've reread it so many times because I thought it was such a great interview. But he was asked point blank, like, would you want to do a series? Like they were talking about doing a series of your character from Christine. Like, would you play a detective in a kind of gumshoe detective, like a Columbo style? Like a lot of people are saying that you'd be really good in that kind of format. And he's like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to work that much. Like, I like to like not do things. And a TV show requires you to be there every day.
Yeah, David's still getting his showrunner. I'm gonna forget it.
It's like I like not doing things. Actually, it's like nice to not do things.
Recharge.
And, shit. But yeah, another David thing is that he was giant fan of old movie theaters, specifically the New Beverly, which we went to many a time. Obviously, the Quentin Tarantino connection of it all. But yeah, these little guys that you see on the table.
Touch on that, the Quentin Tarantino, because David's. He was still working at I forget, was it Vidiots or whatever? When it was his
old
local
farm in Santa Monica.
Yeah, he was the guy that was behind the counter.
Monica? Yeah, I think it was.
Or Marina Del Rey or something.
Yeah. David has stories of. Can I explain these?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are from the pre-show.
Come on out to the lobby.
Come on out to the lobby. Get your popcorn. Get your
dancing
milkshake.
Confections.
That's soda. And a hot dog.
Yeah.
Dancing confections, which my little sister Claire found at the Pasadena flea market. But David would love these guys. He would love these guys.
He would.
Yeah, no, he had stories of going to, Vidiots back in the day before it was a trendy, Alamo Draft House style theater in Eagle Rock, which it is now.
Is that what it is now?
Yes. And back when it was actually a video store and Tarantino was working there. Yeah. He would see him all the time, and he was just kind of a mouth breather behind the counter.
He always had like a recommendation.
Yeah, you should check this out. Yeah, if you like this.
It's like anybody that was around that same era that went to Rhino Records. You were going to get accosted if you came up there with
like Jack Black and High Fidelity. Yeah. When he's like, no, you can't buy it.
Yeah, you can't.
Like, why? Like, I'm trying to get Stevie Wonder for my daughter's birthday.
Nope,
can't get it.
That's what Rhino Records was like.
Yeah, like your taste is inferior. Don't. Yeah, I think that's kind of bullshit.
I agree,
ultimately.
but that was kind of what some of these
gatekeeping is what we call it now.
He also David had tapped into he knew where all the cool comic book stores were. I just pictured him on the days when we weren't meeting to have lunch that he would probably go out and go to comic book stores.
He lived like Larry David. I mean, he was very much like, I'm going to get in my car, go maybe have a lunch, poke around a bookstore, park the BMW, go. If it doesn't go start home. Off, he was very minus the extremes of that character. But like David lived the writer's life in that, like, he could dream of things. We started writing the scripts. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, I actually want to pick it back up because this was when I was living in New York, and he had a really great idea to do something centered around a...
Careful. Maybe you shouldn't...
Beep. Censored. Because you can't take that idea.
General.
Don't take my idea.
AI might get it.
Do you think he'd like my glasses?
Yeah.
I think he would. He'd be like, "Damn, what are you?"
Hey, I can't throw any shade because I have my golf sunglasses.
He was a very mellow dude, very calm.
Very mellow.
I don't think I ever saw him raise his voice. He was like the equanimity on this guy and the poise was just really
very grounded.
He was very composed, very, very classy guy.
We used to enjoy smoking cigarettes together, and having cold beers way back.
That sounds fun. They go well together. Yeah. When he was taking you to dive bars and just talking about.
Well, when we were all in our 20s, we probably had too many beers on the weekends. But part of the deal was
too many.
Everybody, if they came over our place, you stayed the night.
That's cool. But David broke that rule. He
broke it one time, and Tam came down hard.
I like that Mom did that.
Yeah,
she's like, don't.
She took his keys
behind
away
the wheel. That's cool.
And then he didn't do that anymore.
He didn't do it anymore. He was a funny drunk because he just got really happy. Yeah. Which is great. That's what you want. You don't want the rest
very
of it.
Affectionate to all of us.
Also a true Twilight Zone scholar. I think when I was getting into the Twilight Zone from the Sci-Fi Channel marathons that they did on New Year's, he would be like, oh, you got to watch this one, or like, this one's really good. And he loved Jack and Jack's career.
Yeah, so they got along well.
Yeah, my grandpa, your dad, he really loved revisiting some of Jack's stuff, and he would have loved the the lore of
whenever
the Damnation Alley.
we would all get
thing.
together. My parents were there. David was great. He'd
What was he? Yeah, what was he like with them?
He'd just get my dad telling stories.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
He just wanted to hear about the good old days.
Yeah, he'd have specific things he'd want to ask about.
Yeah.
Certain actors that
What was it like working with George Papard on Damnation Alley? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, his knowledge of, like he ask you any movie and who was in it, who directed it. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to nail it.
Well, he scared the living daylights out of me as a kid, and I probably should have brought this up on our Halloween episode a few weeks back. Because remember, we had a brief little thing on that where we're like, what scared you the most as a kid? And you were talking about Exorcist. I talked about Ghost of Mr. Chicken, which still scared the shit out of me. But David showed... Right, yes. Nutty Professor. I remember David coming over at some point, probably I was like early teens, and he brought like a bootleg copy, like a VHS tape of episode of Thriller, which was like
Chiller or Thriller?
Thriller with Boris Karloff. Boris Karloff hosted this one in like the 60s, and it was sort of an anthology series a la Twilight Zone.
More monstery though, right?
Yeah. And so the episode
like
he brought,
limits.
Exactly, he was like, I just happened to catch this on cable, and I recorded it on my DVR because it's such a good episode. And I remember we watched it, as a family. And he was like, it's PG. And it is. It's like, it's more implied than seen. But the whole premise of it is like Rip Torn plays a very young Rip Torn plays a distant cousin of a family who the patriarch has passed away. There's a lavish estate, and he's due to inherit it. But in order to inherit it, he has to spend a night in the.
It's like the Ghost of Mr. Chicken.
Yeah, somewhat. Except this is actually scary.
Yeah.
And I remember him bringing that, and the fact that it was sort of like, he had caught it on cable and recorded
and I think
it.
now I'm remembering this, and his character too. He's kind of a dick, isn't he? Rip?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, classic. Like, I'm not afraid of anything. Like, I'll spend the night. He's just like smoking cigs, and he's got a gun, and then of course he gets. I won't spoil it because it's a really good episode, and I'll include it in the description.
I'd like to watch
we'll
that
find
one
what the name of it is, but for the purposes of just kind of rounding out the David discussion, I just kind of want to read through this because this gives you some sense of the scope of his career, what he worked on, the genres, the different decades and eras of Hollywood that he was across, and feel free to interrupt me if these bring up any memories or associations. I'll do the same. So obviously, the one that got him started was Dreamscape in 1984.
Well, Heart to Heart before that.
Well, yeah, I'm just doing films.
Yeah.
But pretty much he didn't do any TV once he got
just
going,
Heart to
right?
Heart, I think. Well, he came in and did some rewriting on things. I don't know if it was television or features, but
I thought there was a bug on. Okay, so Dreamscape 1984, The Stepfather 1987, which is the one with who's in that? Terry O'Quinn.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Joseph Rubin, who he worked with quite regularly.
He and Joe did
a lot.
A long relationship professionally.
Star Trek: The Final Frontier, obviously, that was a big one. William Shatner came out the year I was born, 1989.
I remember going to see that. We went to big screening with David. All
really?
of us.
Was it fun?
It was really fun.
Flashback, 1990.
Now that's one I do have a story. That's one that David gave me to read before it was an original idea, and his agent was pitching it. And I read it around then, and it was really, really good. It got sold. I don't want to throw any, shade again on anyone, but it wasn't as good as the screenplay was. I mean, the changes that were made in the casting choices. I think it was Kiefer Sutherland and
Dennis Hopper.
And Dennis Hopper.
But the premise of it is that it's like a counterculture.
Yeah.
But the premise of that was basically a cop escorting an old counterculture guy, kind of Midnight Run style. Interesting.
But he's not who you think he is.
Yeah. Okay. Passenger 57. This is a big one. 1992.
He did a couple Wesley Snipes. Right? That and Money Train.
Big Wesley Snipes picture. Yep. Do you remember going to see it in theaters? Yeah, he did. Oh, man, he must have had some crazy stories. The Good Son. That's the Macaulay Culkin one. I remember him having a poster for this in his office, which is interesting. He did a couple Joseph Rubin movies here where he's uncredited, but I'm imagining he got along so well with
He
Joe.
probably did rewrites on some of these
after Dreamscape that he would just bring him in to be his rewrite guy.
Yeah. He had a little bit of a career as a script doctor too.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you make the money.
Yeah.
Three Musketeers, which we brought up, obviously.
Sole credit on that.
Sole credit on a good chunk of these. Money Train, which was the next Wesley Snipes with Woody
Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson. The poster here is just Wesley and Woody. Good way to sell a movie. That was big. That was Joe Rubin.
Yeah.
And who directed Passenger 57? Okay, Kevin Hooks. Yeah. Tom and Huck, 1995. That was another Disney picture. So I'm assuming after he did Three Musketeers, they must have signed him. And then this is where it gets interesting because between Dreamscape and Tom and Huck, we have a span of less than 10 years, 9 years. 84 to 95, he's working steadily. Movies are coming out. And then we don't get a credit from David until 2008 for Lakeview Terrace. So what was happening between 1995?
He was doing a lot of rewriting.
Yeah?
Yeah, because he was always doing something.
I knew these would have been the years I knew him. Not, when I was like conscious enough to know him as between 95 and 2008.
Yeah, but
that's
you
a
also
big
remember the gestation period for scripts. It's like he might have been on 3 things.
Yeah.
2 of which didn't get made.
True.
But he was working, getting paid.
Yeah. But I remember when Lakeview got made, that was a big deal because he had been working on that one, and that has a bit of your life kind of woven into this into the
Lakeview Terrace.
Yeah. The Patrick Wilson character in it is driving home in his Prius, and he's been smoking at work, and he doesn't want his wife to know, so he airs out the car, which is something you did. So I think David, it's funny because he pulled from his own life. I
made that connection at the time, but yes.
No, yeah.
It was pretty recent, too, because I was when I quit.
Yeah.
And Colin was born.
Yeah. And then after Lakeview, he did a string of these.
And he got on a roll again.
Kind of B-movie, real just sort of like
thrillers.
By the number thrillers. Yeah. And I'm saying this again as a compliment to David's skills as a screenwriter, that he kind of found this pocket that was quite lucrative for him. And he had a string of these movies come out in pretty close succession. So he did Obsessed with Beyonce and Idris Elba, which was sort of a flip on the Fatal Attraction thing, right? Where, it's just like it's like a slightly different, like I don't know what, they flipped the race.
And the role. I think the roles are reversed.
Glenn Close's character is now, and it wasn't that long of the gap. I'm looking now, and it's like 95 to 2008.
13 years.
13.
But
I did the math in my head. 13. He was. And then Penthouse North, which was a real. I remember they did that. That was a tough one because getting the financing for that was a nightmare. This starred
Screen Gems.
Michael Keaton
last few.
before Birdman kind of came and reinvigorated his career, which I think it did in a big way, obviously, with that film winning an Oscar.
So between Batman and Birdman.
2013, Keaton was, he'd done a cameo in The Other Guys, which was great, but I can't really point to much in that gap that he was doing, besides just being like a cool guy, and then he did this movie Nurse 3D with Paz de la Huerta,
but I think was that
insane.
Was that an original
She's
idea?
She's a serial killer nurse.
Yeah,
I think he actually got hired onto that one.
Yeah,
because I remember him at the time actually sending me an email that was pretty funny, where he's like, "Do you have any creative ways of how to kill people?" And I was like, "What is this for?" And he's like, "I'm writing a horror script, and I need to figure out like novel ways in which this nurse could." And I was like, I really don't know. It's not my department. But he obviously came up with some stuff because that movie was released. Yeah, 3D. During the 3D craze. And then he did this thing, The Intruder with Dennis Quaid. A very big commercial success.
Yeah, we went to that screen.
Kind of a Lakeview Terrace vibe too, where it's like, in this case, young black couple moves into a home that was owned by this, older dude played by Dennis Quaid. I mean, he's got an obsessive relationship with the home. Yeah, exactly. You keep checking in on them, and
that's the last. I remember we were not living here then, but we were in town, and we went to the screening with Mel and David.
Yeah,
which was a lot of fun. And then the after party, which was hilarious because we were up. They had like a little space reserved for him and his two guests, which were us, he and Mel and Tam and I, up at this, like, some swanky ass Hollywood club. And we're sitting in this little VIP area. All we wanted to do was leave. It was like he just had to say hello to.
He had to do his thing.
And then, not his.
No. Yeah, David was funny because like he did lean into this kind of like, I don't know, this era of his career where it was like, well, let's do the like. They're almost like they would have been like Roger Corman movies back in the day or something, right? Like they kind of had like a Boxcar Bertha vibe to it.
But I think he loved all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, and so
again, I'm not saying this.
Like, I'd love to.
I'm not saying this is like a pejorative. I'm not putting him in some like
not at all.
Yeah, it's
he
it's
had
just
a really wonderful career. David had a real appreciation of the history of this industry, and I think both of us do as well. And he made that really fun, like going to places that used to be a hangout for Errol Flynn or something like that, and really made me appreciate when I was in the middle of it that it's been a privilege to be able to be part of this as well. And I know it's a never ending train, and you get on and then eventually you get off of it and it keeps going. But it's made me very thankful for the ride I've had. Yeah. And he was really appreciative for himself.
I think that's a really good way of saying it, because he definitely had that humility and modesty about him, not only just as a person, to the point of your story earlier that like even when he got probably the biggest paycheck of his career for that one screenplay sale, he pulled you aside and did that in a way where it wasn't showboaty or him flexing. No. It was, that was David's person, but also I think he had a wider sense of time and our continuum and place in it, and of like, I'm working in an industry. Yeah, exactly. Like I'm here, essentially I'm one or two steps ahead of like the people behind me, and
David
I'm going to leave.
Probably one of the first people I called when I knew I was going to be directing, and then all I got was teased by him.
He would email you jokes all the time, right?
About what was going to happen on my first day on the set.
Yeah, he loved emailing jokes. He was a big emailer. If I haven't stressed that enough already, big email guy. Big on the emails. So.
Well, suffice it to say that he was one of the special people in our lives, and he was a wonderful writer. And if you're looking for a movie to watch, look up his credits and pick one.
Please do. I mean, you can't go wrong. I think a good place to start would probably be at the beginning. But
I would say Three Musketeers if you want to pick David's sense of humor
for sure. And it's a great cast. It's
a lot of fun.
Kiefer Sutherland, Charlie Sheen. Chris O'Donnell,
Oliver Platt, Tim
Curry. That's the cast.
It's a lot of fun. And Rebecca De Mornay, right?
Rebecca De Mornay. David would have loved this. David would have loved this. All right.
Well, cheers to you, buddy.
Cheers to you. We're not. This is seltzer water. But
we could still cheers.
You can still cheers him. Every time I have a martini, I think about David. Do you know that?
Well, he would love to know that.
Yeah. David is a great man. He will continue to live on in every time I criticize my own work. I hear David in my head, and he helps me be a better writer, better person. The gift of the emails he sent me across the however many years I knew him.
Saved all those.
Yeah, those are like could be bound into a book with some of the wisdom that he imparted. But yeah, David P. Loughery. P for pussy.
All right. Now I can explain.
You got to explain that.
I'll
that's a joke.
That.
Yeah, that's a joke. Yeah. So it's not his actual name.
I can't even think of the name of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
It's Predator. It's Predator.
No. He was a cop. I found the clip.
Okay.
It's on YouTube if I can think of it. You could probably just type in what's the P stand for.
Yeah.
Anyways, Arnold has some line where he introduces himself as something P whatever, and they go, "Yeah, what's the P stand for?" And he just goes, "Pussy." So that I was Alec P. Smythe. He was David P. Loughery.
He thought like that's cool. Like he gets pussy.
Yeah,
like he said, like dude, that sounds cool. Like you are a pussy.
It does.
It worked for David because he could sometimes be a little pussy.
Well, and he was. That became everybody's middle initial.
He would. He'd Danny P. Every time I saw him, it'd be like Danny P. and it'd be like David P. Like
I don't think you even knew what it was.
I didn't. I just as a kid, I was like, okay, cool. P. Is that his middle name? Peter. Yeah. Anyway, David,
we love you, buddy.
All right, let's close this one out. Whip it.
Woo! Yes, baby, whip it good.